If someone ever asked me if there was a story that I would want all of my followers to listen to from beginning to the end, it would be this one. These are the type of stories that truly scare me so much. Just wait till the ending of this. So this guy says that when he was very, very young, he had a best friend named Raul. He said that it was a privilege to be Raul's best friend because unlike his home life, Raul's home life was really amazing. Raul had two parents who loved him so much and gave him attention. He even remembers how Raul didn't have to share his bedroom and had it all decorated with things that he loved. He lived in this really big house and had all the toys that just kids would dream of. He even had the newest and most modern video game setup, so of course when Raul asked him to stay the night, he was happy to. And just like he expected, he had the time of his life in that sleepover, and it wasn't just like the toys and having fun with Raul, but even Raul's parents treated him like he was a part of the family. He remembers eating sweets and they even ordered pizza, which was really rare in his own household. He remembers even little details like when they were gonna watch movies, they would let him choose the movie that the entire family was going to watch. He says that they would watch the movie and then they would go play video games, they would have snacks until they eventually would go to bed. However, not everything was perfect. There was just something about when nighttime came that was not good. He realized that something was not right the first night he spent the night in that house, and he was tossing and turning. He explains that what he started to hear was almost like if somebody was knocking on the bedroom window. He thought to himself that maybe it was a branch of a tree that was making that kind of sound, so he didn't even bother opening his eyes to look outside that window. However, a few moments later, he heard that tapping on the window again. He did pretend to be asleep while somebody was tapping on that window, but he admits that that really scared him, not knowing who was on the other side. He ended up falling asleep until it was morning time, and then he didn't tell anybody anything because he forgot, since he was dreading going back home in the morning. So a week passed and it was the weekend again, and Raul again asked him if he wanted to spend the night, and he was so excited that he said yes and completely forgot about the window incident. However, they had fun. They went to bed, he couldn't fall asleep, and somebody was tapping on that window again. However, this time, after knocking or tapping on that window and him pretending to be asleep, he heard something different after. What he heard was somebody attempting to open that window. And he says that they were being successful because he could hear that window opening. He literally stood up, looked at the window, and he saw when a hand pulled back and hit. He said that the hand was long with his fingers all weird, and that to him, it was like a demon hand or something. He woke up Raul, who also looked and saw that the window was open, and they ran to the parents' bedroom and woke them up. The parents were obviously very alarmed, went, and they didn't see anything. The window wasn't even open. The parents also explained to him that they had an alarm system. They walked him to the alarm system and even went as far as giving him the code because they wanted him to feel comfortable, and if anything was wrong or if he ever needed to come over and they weren't home, he could put in that alarm code and come inside. And of course, that did calm him down, and him and Raul went back to the bedroom and they went to bed. And of course, with time, he completely forgot about that incident and he continued to go over to Raul's house. However, he does admit that every time in the night, he would hear something. If it wasn't a tap on the window, it was something completely different. Unfortunately, he says that the sounds coming from the yard or from the window weren't even the worst of it. There was one night he really needed to go to the restroom. As he's going to the restroom, he could see the front yard of the house through this big window, and he swears that he sees a really tall, bald man just staring into the house. He said the man didn't have like any hair in his face, like it was no eyebrows, just his eyes, his lips, like he was very pale. So when he saw him the first time, it was on a Thursday. The following day, he sees him again, but this time he is a little bit closer to the house. By the time Saturday came, he was right next to the window of that house. He did say that he thought to himself, like, why am I seeing this ghost? I cannot bring it up. If I continue to bring this up to the family, they're gonna stop inviting me over and they're not gonna let me hang out with Raul anymore. However, there was one last occasion where he saw this bald man. He woke up because he was really thirsty and he was gonna go to the kitchen and get a glass of water. He remembers that his grandmother told him about this like myth where if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're really thirsty, it's because someone has been observing you. Kate didn't need to hear that within this story. I'm a thirsty ass bitch at 3 in the morning. Anywho, he gets up, he starts walking towards the kitchen, and at this point he knew this house almost like if it was his own. So he was just gonna go and get a glass of water and go back to bed. However, when he walked out of Raul's room and about to head towards the kitchen, something that was in the living room walking into the kitchen was surprised to see him. And unfortunately, he recognized what that was. The figure that he had been seeing outside was now inside of the house. The bald man just stayed very still, and he said that he just walked backwards, went into Raul's room and closed that door. And obviously he didn't tell the family anything, but he knew that this was out of control and very much out of his hands. The things that he was seeing were just getting worse and worse. And unfortunately, he would refuse to spend the night at Raul's house after that. He said that in the beginning when Raul would invite him over and he would say no, that maybe he didn't give it that much importance, but eventually Raul would invite somebody else and he started having new friends, and him and Raul just weren't friends anymore. Time passes and he says that when they were 25 years old, he ended up bumping into Raul again. They were so happy to see each other that they ended up grabbing a coffee and just sat down and started talking. He tells Raul that all of his fond memories were at his house and that he was so grateful that they were friends even if it was for a short amount of time. And he also explained to Raul why he stopped coming over, because of that ghost that only he would see every night. That is when Raul told him something to calm him down, but it was the complete opposite. That definitely did not calm him down. Raul told him the following. Yeah, there was something there at that house. That they discovered it a year after he stopped coming over to Raul's house. It was definitely not a ghost, but it was terrifying. Raul said that even his parents were like, oh my gosh, the kid was right this entire time and we had no idea. A family member of Raul's father knew that house very well. This family member only lived several streets away from them. This family member had severe mental issues and was supposed to be watched and in his own house at all times because he was dangerous. However, he had found a way to escape that house every night without being caught. And every night that he would escape, he would head over to Raul's house. At first only standing outside the house and then eventually figuring out the alarm system's code and getting inside of that house. They even figured out that the way he got that code was when they had given it to him that one night that he was scared. They actually found him one night because the family was gonna go on vacation, but the dad forgot something at home. When the dad walked into the house, he found him inside and this family member attacked the dad. The family member ended up running out of that house, but eventually was caught by the police. He was taken, but not to jail because again, he had very severe mental health issues. And after all this, they found out that every night that he would escape his house, he had attacked a lot of people, ending their lives. Raul also told him that after that, he was never able to sleep comfortably in his room knowing that the guy was so close. He had opened his window, he had done all of these things until this family member did end up passing away 4 years after that incident. Even after his passing, they were to find people that he had ended and they never knew. So yeah, this is how he found out that he was never seeing a ghost. He was seeing that family member with severe mental issues and he survived. This is why this scares me so much, because I feel like you should be more scared of the living than the dead. The way that this could happen to anyone is what scares me so much. But anyway, what do you guys think?
There is one person in history whose name is so tied to horror that in many ways it's become sort of synonymous with evil. This person committed some of the world's worst atrocities. And in fact, they could have committed many more that we don't even know about. And part of the reason we don't know about it is because they got away with it. And even worse, they never came out and said why they did anything. There's no motive, there's no manifesto, there's virtually no communication with authorities or the public or anything. However, there is one time that this killer, for whatever reason, did reach out and communicate with somebody. And this interaction is simply known as From Hell. On the evening of October 12, 1888, a 49-year-old businessman named George Lusk walked into his upscale home in East London. He grabbed the mail that his housekeeper had set out on the table by the door, and he began sifting through it. And at first, all he saw were a couple letters from friends, and he saw a couple of invitations to upcoming parties. And then he got to the bottom of the mail pile, and he stopped. Because at the bottom of the mail pile, there was a postcard and a letter. Over the past 2 months, 4 people had been killed in George's neighborhood. And in fact, the most recent victim was a middle-aged woman who had been killed about 2 weeks ago, really not far from George's home. And on this mail, on these 2 pieces of mail, the return address was the name of this uncaught serial killer. George was so scared of this killer, as he should be, that he had formed this neighborhood watch group to go out and try to catch this killer. And in fact, just recently, when George was just looking out his front window onto the road, just kind of looking around, not part of his neighborhood watch group, but just kind of scanning the area, he had seen this kind of sketchy looking guy with a big thick beard standing on the other side of the road, and he was kind of in this alleyway. And this guy, it looked like he was staring right at George, very intently so. And George at first returned the stare, but then felt so uncomfortable that he drew the blinds and kind of hid from his window. Because again, he's thinking, there is a killer on the loose, maybe that's him. George actually had been so scared at seeing this guy that he had actually gone to the police and filed a report and said, I don't know, I think that guy could have been the killer. But the police really couldn't do anything because all they had was a sort of generic description of some guy standing on the road not doing anything. So nothing was ever done. And so George, even though he was scared, he opened up these letters.
This is your sign to always say yes when your family asks you to go out with them. Because if you said no and you decided to stay home alone, this right here will come to say hi. The story happened in a country with a really bad electricity, okay? And what I mean by really bad electricity is that you're just chilling, okay? And then boom, no electricity. And this happened 4 to 5 times a day. 4 to 5 times a day is insane, okay? I don't think you realize how much it is. But you know what? It was really common in the country. Obviously, the people that live in this country are used to it, okay? Especially during daytime. You don't really need light. But that's a different story when it's nighttime, and that's why I need you to save the video and come back to it at night so it's more enjoyable like that. You see, it all started when a little boy was watching TV, okay? So he was basically chilling, watching TV, probably watching me. Nah, but anyways, he was watching TV, and then his family came. His family came to him because they wanted him to go outside with them. They were like, hey yo, we're going outside, you wanna join us? The little boy basically responded, no, I don't wanna go outside, I'm actually watching TV. Oh, okay, but you know, everybody in the family is going outside because the moon is really beautiful tonight and you gotta appreciate nature. Are you sure you're not coming? Nah, I can't this time, I'm sorry, I'm really tired, I'm watching TV. You can go without me, have fun. Appreciate nature, they said. Oh, okay then, have it your way. We're leaving. So yes, basically everyone in the family went outside and they left the little boy alone. But you see, he was okay with that because he was watching TV. So he was basically like, okay. What the hell? Exactly. While he was watching TV, the light decided that it's time to go. Now, he's alone and he's not able to see since it's nighttime. But like I told you, people there are used to it, okay? So he was basically waiting for it to come back. He's basically like, okay. Okay. What the hell? See, while he was in the dark, he basically saw a tall lady with a long black hair, white dress appearing and disappearing. And when he saw her, he basically told himself, okay, there is no way I'm seeing this right now. I gotta be imagining this. Hold on. Oh damn, she's still here. Oh yes, the little boy is definitely not imagining this, because now he's home alone in the dark and there is this woman right here in front of him walking. Well, not walking, he said floating because she didn't have feet. That's exactly how he described her. He said that the way she was moving, she was not walking, she was more like floating or like somebody taking big steps. Now, the little boy was panicking, okay? He's literally stressing. And this is the moment where he thought that, okay, maybe this is a prank. He thought that this right here was either his sister or his mom. While staring at this thing, he was basically like, hey yo, hey sister, I know that's you. Stop playing around, it's not funny. But when this woman right here heard him, she was basically like, yo, I know it's you. You gotta stop the cab. Like, your thing is not even realistic for real. I mean, damn. This woman literally didn't care about him, okay? It's like he wasn't even talking to her. He wasn't even there. So when the little boy saw that she low-key don't care, okay? She's just minding her business. He was like, okay, you know what? I'm just wait for her to disappear and then I'm gonna go down, leave the house and tell my whole family about what happened. And yep, just like that, when she disappeared and he couldn't see her, he left the house, joined his family outside and literally told him what happened. Obviously his family didn't believe him. I mean, they never do. And the little boy we're talking about in this story actually grew up and he told me this story, and the picture you're seeing right now is where all of this happened. That's scary.
We show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
Okay, so in honor of October, tomorrow is Halloween, and I thought, why not tell you guys a true scary story? Before I start though, I do want to tell you guys that I know there are a lot of people out there that do not believe in the paranormal, and that is totally okay. That is totally fine. I don't care. But these are true stories and experiences that I've encountered or that my family has encountered. Both of my parents were born in Oaxaca, Mexico, so most of these stories happened in Oaxaca. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of context. Both of my parents grew up very, very fucking poor, okay? So they didn't live in the city. They lived up in Las Montañas, meaning to get to the city, they would have to walk 3 to 4 hours. Since they grew up very fucking poor, they didn't have a bathroom like most of the people in the city did. And my parents also didn't have electricity. All they would use is candles. That's if they even had money for candles. This specific story happened to my mom, okay? So this is my mom's experience. Around 2 a.m., my mom hears something. Obviously, it wakes her up from her fucking sleep, okay? She turns around and she sees it's my grandma. Okay, side note, like I mentioned before, my grandma and my mom lived 3 to 4 hours away from the city, okay? So she told me that every couple days, like maybe like twice a week, you would have to go to the city with your cubeta because they were giving away maize to make tortillas. So yes, around 2 a.m. my grandma had to wake up like twice a week to make it to the city on time to fill her cubeta up with maize, so she had to bring it back and she would have to make the tortillas. My mom woke up to the sound of my grandma getting ready, and she had asked her where she was going, and obviously they had a little conversation there. You know, she was telling her like, oh, I'm gonna go to the city because I have to go get maize to make the tortillas. And obviously my mom, being young, she wanted to tag along. So my mom kept insisting like, no, let me tag along. And obviously my grandma was like, no, like, girl, you have to fucking stay and take care of your fucking siblings, you know? Like, my mom was like the second or third oldest, I don't remember, but she does tell her like, no, like she's trying to convince her to stay home. And obviously my mom's being fucking like, obviously we're all kids at one point, right? Who doesn't want to fucking tag along with their fucking mom? My grandma got tired of my mom's shit and she's like, you know what, fuck it, you're tagging along, you're coming with me. Okay, so they both finished getting ready, and my mom grabs her little bucket, and so does my grandma. So, you know, like, they're ready to fucking head out. As they're fucking walking, not even an hour goes by, okay? My mom hears footsteps behind her, and she tells my grandma, hey, I hear footsteps. I think there's somebody behind us. And my grandma tells her, oh, okay, well, whatever you do, don't look back. Like, keep walking forward because we have to make it on time to the city. So my grandma's just telling my mom, like, hey, like, don't worry about it. It's just other people that are also walking to the city to go get maize to make tortillas. So this kind of calms my mom down a little bit. And she's like, okay, you know what? Like, you're right. So they keep walking, and my mom still fucking hears these footsteps, okay? My mom at this point didn't really care because she obviously thought like, okay, yeah, it's other people walking to the city because they also want to grab maize. Okay, keep in mind that they're 3 to 4 hours away from the fucking city, okay? At this point, they have been walking for about an hour and a half, and my mom starts to get kind of confused because if there are people behind her, how come they haven't caught up? So she takes on my grandma and she tells her like the footsteps are getting closer but no one is passing us. Like, what the fuck is going on? My grandma knows what the fuck is going on. So she tells my mom, it's just the people, you know, keep your fucking head straight, keep walking and don't look back. So she keeps telling my mom like, don't fucking look back. Whatever you do, don't look back. So at this point my mom fucking is freaking out. She knows something is fucking going on. She knows that whatever is behind her is not another person. She knows it's paranormal. They're about 2 hours into this walk and my mom tells her, okay, let's turn back and let's go home. Obviously my grandma is fucking angry at this point. She's like, you're just scared. We are halfway there, okay? You just need to get your shit together and keep walking. So at this fucking point, my grandma is irritated and she is scolding my mom. She keeps telling her like, okay, la próxima vez ya no te voy a traer porque si vas a seguir así, pues, ¿por qué te voy a traer? You know, she's basically telling her like, why the fuck am I bringing you next time if you're gonna keep acting like this? My mom is trying to catch up to my grandma because my grandma is so irritated that she walks ahead of her. And as my mom is trying to catch up, she says that the footsteps get closer to her. And eventually, she feels something grab her back. With no fucking hesitation, my mom runs. She runs. As soon as she catches up to my grandma, she tells her what she felt. She said that she felt something grab her back. And my grandma, at this point, she's fucking angry because she realizes that my mom had lost her cubeta. Fucking grandma, it doesn't even give a fuck. Like, she is irritated as fuck with my mom. Like, my mom had just lost her cubeta, so there's no point in her fucking tagging along if she wasn't gonna bring her cubeta to get the fucking maize. My grandma proceeds to tell my mom, por eso no te quise traer. Like, this is why I didn't want to fucking bring you, because I knew you would act like this. Okay, so my mom starts to hear the footsteps again. So this time, curiosity fucking got to her. So as she turns around, she sees this fucking shit. Okay, and my mom immediately fucking falls to the floor because she's obviously fucking shocked. You know, as a fucking child, when you see this shit, what the fuck do you even do? She also tells me that she remembers the eyes were really, really big and it had sharp teeth. The mouth was wide open and it was just staring at my mom. Like, obviously, she's at loss for words. She doesn't know how to tell my grandma what she fucking saw. But as soon as she got a fucking grip and she was able to talk, she tells my grandma what she saw. So yes, my grandma knew what the fuck she was talking about, because like I mentioned before, this is not the first time my grandma has walked the same route. She has done this before to get to the city. Okay, I think I might have to make a fucking part 2 because I'm out of time.
They say that you're not supposed to see your own doppelganger, right? And that it's supposed to be a bad omen or something bad could happen to you afterwards. Well, someone in my family saw their own doppelganger, and this story is terrifying. It's one of the scariest stories that I've heard any of my family members tell. But if you guys saw the story that I posted like 2 or 3 nights ago about my mom's doppelganger, what's so crazy about this story is that it happened to my mom's twin sister's daughter. So it's important to note that a lot of people in my family have seen things. A lot of people in my family have gifts. What to the extent of those gifts, I'm not sure, but everyone has seen something or heard something at some point. My aunt has sleep paralysis horribly. She has her entire life, my mom's twin sister. And she lived in this house at one point, and this house used to freak me out so bad. Now, I never personally saw anything in this house, but I would always have nightmares in this house, and I would never want to go in the basement alone because the basement just freaked me out. So one night, my aunt puts my niece to bed, puts my nephew to bed, and then she goes to sleep. So after my aunt falls asleep, she wakes up in the middle of the night, and she starts to hear what sounds like a radio changing stations. And this is freaking her out a little bit, but then she realizes that she cannot move, and she realizes that she's having sleep paralysis. Now, what's so creepy about this is that numerous times this has happened to me. The first thing I will hear when I'm about to have a full-blown sleep paralysis attack is I will hear what sounds like a radio changing stations. So she hears this, and then suddenly she starts to feel something crawl slowly on the bed. First it's hands, then it feels like the knees, and then she can hear this laughing sound, but it's like this deep maniacal laugh. It slowly inches closer towards her. It gets right in her ear, and it goes, Anne. Anne is my aunt's name. So at this point, she's freaking out. Her husband is sleeping next to her, and she's trying her hardest to move. She cannot move. She's trying to wake him up, making any sound she can. She cannot move. As she's trying to fight her way out of this as hard as she can, she suddenly feels whatever this is leap out of her bed, jump on the floor, and run down the hallway. She finally gets out of it, and she sits up, and she's like gasping for air, like literally terrified her. Even though it was just sleep paralysis, she was like, that just felt real. There was something wrong about that. Now, down the hall is my cousin's room, my little cousin's room. We're just gonna call her Mackenzie, and she was 6 years old at the time. She ends up falling back asleep, and nothing happens for the rest of that night, but she does note that she feels like there's something in that house. A couple nights later, she puts my niece and nephew to bed. She goes back to sleep. She wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning again, and she hears my cousin screaming at the top of her lungs. So my aunt goes to get out of bed while my cousin, I keep almost calling her my niece, is running down the hallway, tears pouring down her face. She is absolutely hysterical. My aunt is like, what is wrong? What's wrong? And this is what my cousin tells her. My cousin said that she was laying in bed. She woke up in the middle of the night, and she got scared for no reason. She then looks down at the end of her bed, and she sees something sitting at the end of her bed. At first, she's looking at it, and she's like, is my mom in the room? Is my mom sitting in the bed? She thought that it was my aunt at first. And then it turns its head slowly towards her, and it's her sitting at the end of the bed. She sees herself sitting at the end of the bed. And when it turned its head, it just smiled at her like this. So she saw herself sitting at the end of her bed, just smiling at her. A day after my aunt had that sleep paralysis where that thing ran down the hall towards her room. Now, they did end up moving out of that house, and my aunt was absolutely horrified by this because she believed her. My mom believed me every time I told her something happened to me when I was younger, and my aunt always believed her kids too. And they ended up moving out of the house, not for that reasons, but just because they ended up moving out. Like, she ended up getting a divorce from her husband. My aunt said that she would always have crazy nightmares in that house. And when I say crazy, like, I'm talking about nightmares that kind of seeped into reality. I'll have to ask her about some, like that, this one particular nightmare that she had that still gives me chills when I hear it to this day. I'm getting chills right now even thinking about it. It was so scary. And the way that she woke up from it and just like, it was so, oh, but I'll make sure to ask her about that. If you want to hear it, drop it in the comments if you want to hear that story. But what do you guys think is going on? Like, this was a while ago, obviously. But I definitely think that my entire family has gifts to a certain extent. Most of them have seen pretty freaky things. I definitely think that a lot of us are haunted. I think I have it the worst. My whole family thinks that I have it the worst, but I just want to know your thoughts on this. What do you think this was? I think we all know what it was. I just can't say the name. Like, obviously we know what it was. It may have not been a doppelganger. It probably sounds like the other thing. But drop all your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions in the comments below. Before we go into the shout outs, I do have to ask you guys for a favor. Those of you who have told me stories before and I have not responded to you, do me a favor if you guys have time and resend in those stories, because I am noticing that there are a lot of stories that I'm seeing in my email that I have missed, and for some reason my email is only letting me go so far back, and so I think I'm missing a lot of stories. So definitely resend me an email if I never responded to you, or if I did respond to you and I told you I was going to tell you your story and I didn't. And one more thing, I did tell this story on my account. It was like the third story that I ever told before, but I did not tell you the whole story. I did not tell you about my aunt's sleep paralysis story because I did not remember the sleep paralysis story until recently. That's actually why I'm retelling the story now. I did tell you in the story that she had sleep paralysis, but I didn't realize that it was so close together, and I didn't remember the sleep paralysis story specifically. So you're getting like an extra part of the story, just like the last one. One last thing that's really important. I did find a site where I can pick a family to help for Christmas. And so I already created the GoFundMe and everything, but I want to pick the specific family so you guys know exactly where the donations are going to. And I just am going to Florida for Christmas. So the family might have to be in Florida. That's the only thing that's like tripping me up right now, is like to do it in Brooklyn, to do it in Florida. I don't know if I'm gonna have to like actually present gifts or send them money or how that works. So I'm gonna figure that all out tomorrow. I know it's late in the game, but I'm trying my best. And now we're gonna do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Sissy020314. You said that you and your son watch my stories all the time, your 7-year-old son. So I thought that I would give you and your 7-year-old son a shout out. Thank you so much. I love it when family members or friends or relatives watch my stories together, or partners. I think that is so great. That's why I tell these stories. Like, I love it when it brings people together. So that makes me so happy to hear when that happens. So thank you for telling me that. Hi to your son. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching my stories. It means so much to me. I hope they don't scare you too much. They probably won't that much anymore. But and thank you Mom for watching my stories and for sharing them with your son. And I appreciate it so much, and I love you both. And thank you so much for being spooky babies. Not_underscore dermatologist. I cannot remember if I gave you a shout out before, but if I did, I'm giving you one again. I don't think that I did. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. You said that you love being a spooky baby and that you love watching my stories, and that means so much to me. I love that you are a spooky baby as well, and I love that you love watching my stories. Thank you so much for being a part of my community, and thank you for being kind, and thank you for supporting me. That means so much to me when people are kind and support me and leave comments and push out my videos. It really does. Like, it just makes my whole day. So your comment made my whole day. I loved seeing that you said that you loved being a spooky baby, and I just love you. My name is Kaisa, and I tell your paranormal experiences on here every single night, or the ones that you recommend to me from the paranormal world. So if you're into that, hit that follow button. And I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Have you ever heard a knock at your door, went to go check it, and no one was there? What's up, cousins? So I'm back with another story time, so let's not waste no time and let's get into it. So for this story, we're going to call her Mimi. So she's out apartment hunting, and she needs to find this apartment in this expensive neighborhood for a good price. Now, this location was perfect for her because it was right next to her job. So, of course, she went ahead and got the apartment. Now, it wasn't even a couple days before she started hearing knocking at her door. She said she would hear a knock every night at 3 a.m. Every night she would get up, she would look through the peephole, and no one would be there. So after a couple of days of this happening, she just kind of brushed it off because she just figured, okay, it's just some kids playing at her door, knocking at her door, so she thought nothing of it. So the next day, she wakes up, she get ready, she goes to work. Now, while she's at work, her boss asks her because she pulled a double. So she ended up having to close the store that night. So when she gets home from work, she remembers she has to take a test the next day at school. Yes, y'all, she is in college. So she stays up attempting to study. She's at her dining room table studying for this test she has the next day, but she keeps falling asleep. So she does get up and she makes her a cup of coffee. So even though she didn't have this coffee, she still falls asleep. And what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning? She hears a knock at her door. So at first she just thinks she's dreaming until she hears the knock again. So again, she gets up, she walks towards the door, she looks out the peephole, and again, no one is there. So again, she pays it no mind, she walks into her bedroom, she go back to sleep. So attempting to fall asleep, she hears the knock again. So at this point, she's really annoyed. Mimi gets up, she walks towards the door again, she looks out the peephole, but this time, it's an elderly woman that she's never seen before. So as she comes back from the peephole to open the door, by this time, the woman is already down the hallway. So she peeks her head out, yelling out towards the woman. So she's like, hello, can I help you? Like, why do you keep knocking on my door? Because she's really agitated. So the lady turns around and just tell her to come here. So Mimi's like, okay. She walks up to the woman, asks her, why do you keep knocking on my door every single night? The lady responded back and said, he's in your room. So Mimi just got this overwhelming feeling of just fear. After this woman told Mimi this, Mimi looks at her apartment door, looks back in the woman's direction, and the woman is gone. Mimi didn't understand why the lady just said that, but she believed her, so she ended up going to her neighbor's apartment and knocking on their door to use their phone to call 911. When the police had got there and searched her apartment, they ended up finding a man in her closets. And Mimi never knew this guy has broken into her house. Apparently, he's been breaking into her house every single night. Every time she heard that knock at her door, that man was in her room. Now, how did she not see him? How did she not notice? I have no idea. She said she just thanked God for the woman that came and told her. The same neighbor's phone that she used, she went back over there asking the neighbor, like, hey, have you heard of this woman, seen this woman? She started describing the older woman. Now, the neighbor did tell her that, yes, the woman that you're describing lived in your apartment and she died in your apartment. She ended up dying a couple months before Mimi ended up signing the lease for that apartment. What do you guys think? Do you think that the older woman was looking out for Mimi, or do you think something else was going on? Again, if you guys have a story, make sure you submit it to my DM, or you can submit it to my email, which is in my bio. Until the next story time, enjoy this one.